while back, I was looking at MKSDC gameplay and stuff, and whenever I'd occasionally look at it, I thought, hey, it looks pretty fun actually. For a game that overall I was very critical of. For basically, I mean, the impact on the franchise, which is very negative. You know, it followed Armageddon, and obviously a follow up to the Everyone Is Here game with such a small roster, at least on the MK side, because again, this is a main installment and it's just 11 MK characters, pretty standard picks and stuff. And as well, just removing so much stuff like fighting styles and whatnot. I was always critical of this game, and I think overall, if you look at the grand picture of the franchise, this is not a good entry. This really is not for basically killing the 3D era. It feels. Now, I don't want to blame it for that because I feel like, I mean, MK9 would have been MK9 regardless of this game. But this game feels like it's trying to go back to 2D anyway, and we'll get into all the specifics of it. But this is really the last game with the 3D Mortal Kombat games. The 3D era ends with this game. Although even then, I still don't really class this in the 3D era. Same for MK4. The 3D era is very clearly the trilogy that uses the same engine. The one from Day Alliance to Armageddon, that trilogy of games with the interconnecting story and stuff, that is peak MK. And this definitely does not live up to those games, but it's on a standalone game, as a standalone entry, it's pretty fun. If you can switch your brain off and just enjoy the game for what it is, it's a good time. But at the time of its release, yeah, not a great game. But I feel it has aged well in some ways. In other ways, not, because of course they had the WB crossover and WB bought the franchise, and in my opinion, at least, they have not done a good job since purchasing that franchise. So this is kind of like the start of the downfall, in my eyes. But some would see it as the game has saved the franchise after Day Alliance saved the franchise. You know, Day Alliance saved it when the Arcade Einstein, and this is what led to the purchase. After it, although I'm all kind of such a popular IP, I feel like there would have been other buyers. But yeah, you can definitely contribute that, like the modern MK games, to MKS's DC. This is kind of a precursor to that, as well as also being a finale to the Midway games. It's a very strange but interesting entry, and I wanted to go over it because I did get it. I did get it for my birthday because it's a Mortal Kombat game. I'm going to get something out of it. I was like, this looks fun, and it really did impress me when I played it. I think this is quite a hidden gem in terms of just straight up regular gameplay. So yeah, we'll cover it. But before we get to the game, I just want to do some footage that I took earlier. The unboxing of the game or whatever. Just show off the manual and whatnot. So let's get into that. So here we are. Here's the full version of physical. I apologize for the lighting. I'm going to be better. I think so. I mean, I don't know if you can see. The lighting actually does help you. It's just whatever here, like dense, I guess. I don't know. But I feel the quality of this copy was actually decent. Normally, with 360 copies, people are like fucking maniacs with 360 games, I guess. And like secondhand, which is old 360 games now, pretty much for obvious reasons. They're like fucked up, the game cases. But this one's in decent condition, I'd say. So I was impressed by that. I own games cases that I owned when they first came out. That I'm in a good condition of this one. So I was fortunate with that. The back here, and I'll pick it up. I'll look from top down here. So the back is actually pretty cool. There's a lot of information, and I don't know if you can. There we are. It's focused. Very oddly. When worlds collide, heroes and villains must choose their side and fight as a sinister plot with cataclysmic results unfolds. Which side will you choose, referring to MK or DC? Obviously, in the actual game, you can do both stories, and you get Darkseid, you get Shao Kahn. Yeah, It talks about like, oh, there's over 20 characters, 22 to be exact, 20 on the base roster, and then secret characters. I guess they kind of secret characters, but it's the bosses. You can play as Khan and Darkseid. They're the unlockables. The only unlockables in this game actually. Utilize signature attacks and distinct heroic brutalities and fatalities. Choose your side. Yeah, I talked about that with the story thing. Experience all new fighting mechanics. Battle in midair while falling in free fall combat. Get up close to personal and close combat. So we'll get to that. Basically, free fall combat was would come from any stage transition. This is the last game featuring stage transitions for Mortal Kombat, at least. Injustice for some reason kept them. I don't know why they moved that over to Injustice. That was always an MK thing in fighting games. Like, MK3 introduced it and shit, and it's just gone. It's just gone, which is unfortunate. Even to this day, it has not returned. But yeah, same machines, they basically trigger free fall combat, and yeah, it's like a button thing, and close combat is the same way in how it is, but it's like an alternative grab. You can do a lot of damage from it. They're kind of cool. I think for like a competitive online experience, these aren't great features though, but for offline play, they're pretty fun, I'd say. And a unique gimmick. They can get a bit repetitive, but I don't mind them. Fight in all new arenas. Compete in sprawling arenas such as Gotham City, Earthrealm's Hell, and even merged stages. Yeah, I feel this is weird. Earthrealm's Hell. In the game, it's just called Netherrealm, and they have very basic names. They do. But yeah, it's just called Netherrealm in here, and I guess they want a simplistic name. We'll get to that, because the MK side of this feels very simplified for the sake of a lot of people are going to be getting this game because it's a DC game, which is smart. Like this game is successful, right? It was a successful game. A lot of purchases, of course. So the crossover did work. Critically mixed, you know, but yeah, it was successful for that, and it makes sense to do it. But obviously, I'm going to be critical of it as a Mortal Kombat nerd. So we'll get into all that. Select your sides, chat and friends, and take the fight online. Of course, online mentioned here. You get age rating 15. It's not 18. It's the only time MK's been like that. Well, at least in like a single entry. I know that's like censored version, like old arcade games. But yeah, that's pretty cool. And I can look inside now. No like inside boxing, which is a rare. It's a rarity anyway for like 360 games to have like inside box art. That's kind of a new thing as well, and this is like an earlier release on 360, so it makes sense. There's a Dirty Scorpion and Batman. And yeah, I got the manual, and it also even this. I was very surprised. Like, wow, this is like a complete version. Got everything, including this. Register your copy of Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe today. Register your product today at register.midway.com/mksweeps, and you'll be entered for a chance to win one of 25 Apple iPod Touch mobile digital devices. 32, you know, it's not 25. And it's going on about signing up for stuff. I thought that was a pretty cool thing to see, just like a bit of MK history there. I didn't even know that was a thing they did. So when I saw it in the box, I was like, oh, that's a neat little thing to have. And this is the thing, is the manual thing. It's a shame you don't get manuals much anymore. I get it, but like MK especially was one that has like really standout manuals, I feel, in the 3D games. And this is no different. This does retain the style. I mean, table of contents is really nice style, you know, main menu, controls. Oh, I'll actually pick this up again. Extras, options. It's what you see in the Deception one, or the Armageddon one, or the Day Alliance one. It's that same style, and it's a really good style. Fighting HUD, you know, it tells you the new things. Testing Mode, that's another one I completely forgot. That's like a button mashing thing. It happens in game. It's nothing like actual Testing Mode, other than it's a button masher. But I think it's also a very charming stage transition thing. Rage modes. This is like the meter thing. We'll talk about all this in depth at a later point. We'll talk about end user license agreement, things like that, and then notes. And for the notes, I would recommend using this for fatality inputs because they're still not on the move list, and pro moves. And we'll get into pro moves when we talk about the gameplay. But that's something very unique to this game. It's nothing that's like unlisted. So I'd recommend putting it down like a little note on like the timing for them. But yeah, that's that. We'll get on to the rest of this video. But yeah, this is a cool game. It's pretty cool. You get the manual. You might find this little thing. Right? Obviously, can't apply for that today. Yeah, I thought that was a neat little thing. I thought it'd be worth showing off. But yeah, now let's get back to the actual game itself. Now we can get into the actual game itself. First, I'm looking at the menu, of course, and in terms of the layout of this, it's very nice, very convenient. It's it's just a very nicely organized and well designed menu. I like how it kind of continues the Armageddon theme, with having a character at the front and then a character in the background. Unfortunately, there's only the one with Batman and Scorpion, but part of this is it changes whenever you select something, and this is random. There's like several ones. But yeah, it will change, focus on different things, and I just think that's a very neat design choice. But in terms of what's here, look at the options. It's the same as the other 3D games in terms of options. Controller, you can edit the controller binds. Of course, most don't do that unless you want to change where the throw is or whatnot, which you might want to do actually, because close combat takes the place of the original throw. So maybe you want to swap that throw. That's just an idea. But yeah, that is an option as per usual. Gameplay. Second gameplay, that gives you the options that you get in the 3D era games. Again, it kind of retains all that stuff. So selecting difficulty, you have the 5 difficulties. Very easy, medium, hard, very hard, I think is what they call them in this game. But yeah, it's the same with having the 5 difficulties, which is still a thing to this day in MK, fortunately. Again, like little things from the 3D era have carried over all this time, as they should. But yeah, I think they get a rename here. Other stuff is round timer. You can alter that, turn it off if you want. You can toggle blood on and on. It doesn't have a slider like the 3D games where there was 5 options. It's just simply on or off. But I think that being an option is good. And it's the last game where that is an option, which is really weird. I don't know why they gatekeep that in modern MK, but oh well. And also you can set a number of rounds you want. So 1, 2, or 3 is the options again. I think 3 rounds is quite enjoyable, particularly in the 3D games where there's a lot of interactables in the stages. They just feel like really like great, like long battles. You know, quite engaging. And while this game doesn't have as much interactivity as Deception Armageddon stages, at least in terms of uniqueness, there's still a lot of stage transitions and whatnot in all the stages. Except for a few, actually. Not every single one has them. But yeah, they kind of stick around. So that's nice. And then audio and video is just changing the audio and video settings there. I believe that's like the same option as you'd see in the previous 3 games as well. So yeah, some solid options there. They haven't really removed much, so that's good. You get to the extras, and you might notice there's less here. There's no content gallery or anything, and that's because there's no crypt. And this is the only entry to neither crypt at the time of recording this. It's about to be the first one of 2 because Mortal Kombat 12 is going to remove the crypt, which is criminal. That's criminal. It's not necessary in this game because the only unlockables are Shao Kahn and Darkseid. 2 pretty cool unlockables. You get them by beating the story mode. MK side, you get Khan. DC side, you get Darkseid, which makes sense. I really like that, actually. But yeah, there's no unlockables on top of that. This is the one game to not have alternate costumes, none of that. Yeah, and obviously there's no bonus content. Because, yeah, there's nothing to unlock, which is certainly a shame. And again, it makes the game feel more empty than other games in MK. I mean, this is, the lack of crypt is definitely the least important one, but it means there's less to work towards in the game. But yeah, side modes is the one we'll get to. But yeah, we still have bios, which is a good thing, and it's very neatly displayed. I really like it has a nice render with a really cool background for each character. The button for more basically is the calm and dark side. You'll press R1 or RB, the right bumper, to get the menu for calm and dark side. But both here on the endings and also on the roster itself. They're on like a hidden little thing. And assume with the DLC pass, and I'll just get this out the way because every single video about MKSDC brings this up. This game had cancelled DLC, at least from what we know. We had confirmation that Quan Chi event to be one alongside Harley Quinn, I believe, and I think Ed Boon also teased Doomsday and Kung Lao. In my opinion, I think it's a good thing we didn't get DLC, unless they did a version that has the DLC on disc. I know MK9 did that, so I presume this one would, but I don't like very old games having DLC, because this is where the DLC age kind of began in this generation, the 360 and PS3 era. And well, this roster is quite small, 22 characters. I mean, that's still pretty sizable overall, but for MK stands, this is the lowest amount since Gold, and it's the lowest amount even for the calendar games afterwards. So yeah, that's definitely an unfortunate part, but 22 characters is still a good amount. I think as long as you have over 20, I think it's acceptable. And yeah, I just think it's nice to not have paid DLC and whatnot. It is quite odd though, it really is, to not have Quan Chi as a playable character with his story prominence. We'll get to that. But yeah, I believe the more tab would have been for DLC characters on top of the unlockables. That is a theory of mine. But yeah, there was no DLC, of course. And I think it's especially beneficial for this because it's a crossover game. Having the bios present, and the bios in this just... you can look at a model, but it's mainly just about the bio and the bio description. It's pretty basic, it's just original lore. In terms of continuity for Mortal Kombat, this is like post-MK3 stuff. It's after Shao Kahn's defeat. So this is like very basic versions of the characters. I love the standard picks here. The most out there one's kind of Baraka, and even then, he's not an out there pick for the time because Baraka was arguably more popular than Scorpion in the 2000s. There's a reason he was marketed more in like Deception and Scorpion, because Baraka was super popular. And also just kind of wraps the outward monsters. We'll talk more about the roster, but yeah, some of the picks. With a few questionable ones, but yeah, when you look at the bios, they're just kind of basic information for them all. Some are real basic. 3 sentences here. No, 2 sentences, that's a comma. Yeah, 2 sentences for Catwoman. Like very short, very basic, and nothing very standout here. But it is helpful to have such basic bars that just cover what the character is, because if you get the game and you know one side, then you get to learn about the other side, and I think that's cool. A weird anomaly is Raiden's, because Raiden's is not faithful. Some of them, like in terms of character roles, are very weird for the characters. Like Baraka's one is like he's very loyal to Shao Kahn, he's going to avenge you or whatever. That one's kind of weird for Baraka, even in the 2000s, because I mean he was a Naga loyalist when you last see him. So I mean, yeah, he would have been a Khan loyalist at this time, I suppose. But it feels like Baraka had more depth already from like Deception, that this still feels kind of out of character for him. But he doesn't even feel like a character in the story mode. He has like 3 lines of dialogue. He's not very prominent at all. He's more of just Baraka, he's here, he's cool, rather than think of anything to do with the story for him. But Raiden is certainly an anomaly, quite a detailed one. I mean, kind of the most detailed ones. But this one's strange because, in particular, because it brings up that Shao Kahn is his brother. This is not lore that was in any of the games before and after. It's lore that comes from Annihilation, which had a very specific story. Shinnok was their father, brothers. And that lore, for some reason, made it to this game, and I'm not sure why. Especially when they were trying to do very basic sort of... It's weird that they'd try and bring this in. It's not even a retcon, because it's just a whole of a universe, but it's just a weird choice. And it's not relevant to the story at all, because Shao Kahn is absent throughout it all, because he fuses with Darkseid to become Dark Khan. So, yeah, I don't know why they did it. But yeah, that's the only real anomaly. And I mean, again, looking back at this, you can see in the bottom left, you can press the button to hide the bio. Back just takes you back to the main menu. I think with this is loading times, it's quite annoying because there's loading time between certain characters. I guess because they had the model there. Compared to the free area, you could just easily select them all. The loading times aren't bad in this game, though, but that's something that I noticed when comparing them to the previous entries. But yeah, you can view the camera, you can zoom in and stuff if you hide the bio, which, I mean, it's a nice option, but I don't know what you do with looking at it. Yeah, you can zoom in, you can rotate, go up and down, look at the models. Again, there's no alt costume. There's battle damage in this game, and I'll talk about this after. There's battle damage, but you can't really toggle it. There's player 2 colors in the game, and I managed to get them to show up for Baraka one time, and I'm not sure why. I think it might be if you played a match with that character and they were in the player 2 colors, it pops up. But yeah, they were in player 2 colors, and I've never really replicated that yet. So yeah, it's you can view them with the player 2 colors, but there's not an option for it. It's weird. But yeah, there's not much purpose for this. It's a neat thing to have. An MK9 keeps it up, but I don't know what you do with it other than this. But yeah, moving on to the endings, and I apologise because this is my own actual footage, because I couldn't find screenshots for this one on any sites. Again, it's the same format. You can press RB for more. And again, real nice style. I tried to take this screenshot before, just to show you the difference in having the endings locked. It just shows the character icons. But you see in the fights. And then if you unlock them, which you see at the bottom here, it displays the image of the ending. The other 3D era endings would feature 2 pieces of artwork. This one only features 1. I get you're noticing there's a lack of stuff, and the endings are usually quite short. Some of them are just boring. Some of them are kind of cool. Like Shao Kahn. Shao Kahn has some awesome artwork. But I mean, yeah, it's just it's non-canon, AU, crossover, bollocks. It doesn't particularly matter. But there are some cool ones. Most of them are just whatever. But yeah, I will compliment how this endings page is designed. I think this is the coolest the endings page has been done. I really do like it. And I did mention loading screens. This is just one example. There's many. There's several, and I still find new ones now. And that's because there's a lot to take from, because it's all just photos taken from the story mode cutscenes and stuff. So it allows for a lot of unique loading screens. And this is the last game to have unique loading screens. So I appreciate that. Because they were always a cool part of the 3D games. I'm again kind of lost them, but they still had some cool ones, like the Versus loading screens. They were cool. And yeah, this kind of goes back to the Day Alliance Deception style stuff. So yeah, that's that, and it never comes back. We just have generic loading screens now, unfortunately. But I do appreciate it being in this game. And again, on the topic of visual stuff, I mentioned battle damage, which it might have been the cause for no alt costume, because it seems like a lot of work went to it. Battle damage debuted in Day Alliance, where you had different textures that would worsen for the face models of the characters. Now it's the full body, and MK9 continues this style, and I don't like an MK9 because it's very over the top, and because there's only one battle damage model. Like if you have it very over the top, you'll notice that it's just the same thing over and over. But it's still noticeable in this game. It's more subtle, which means it's less over the top, and I mean, another problem with MK9 is MK9 is very sexist, for obvious reason with how the women are designed and whatnot. And the battle damage for them would be used, basically, it feels like, as an excuse to expose more of their skin. And what happens in this game, because I think there's torn clothes and whatnot, it's not done to the same effect, it feels. But yeah, again, because it is such over the top, it's cooler, I feel. It feels more natural. It feels cool. I mean, it's still over the top ridiculous stuff. I mean, look at Scorpion. Scorpion is my favorite one for sure, because you break his mask, you can see his skull, and then you can put holes in his chest that show like his skeleton inside. It's so cool. I really do like it. So yeah, I think it's very cool in this game. Like, you get torn costumes, torn capes, and all that. Some pretty gnarly looking cuts for a game that's meant to be toned down the violence. There's some gruesome wounds you can see on characters. So I thought it's a nice visual thing. If it was at the cost of old costumes, I wish it didn't happen. But again, the development was very rushed. Because, Midway needed money. MK makes them the most money, they're very precious to make stuff. And this was on an entirely new engine, and they still got this out in 2 years' time. So it's very impressive, but that is why there's a lack of content, for those who don't know. Which, speaking of which, I mean, there's also a 2-player option, which is just versus in the 3D games. You get to pick your own characters, of course, and you get to pick the stage, which, again, that's like the exhibition mode, which doesn't become a thing against AI until MKX. So, again, that's still the same, unfortunately. But here, for single player, you have a few options, but none of them are real side modes. It's side content, but the gameplay is the same overall. Let me explain. Story mode, you get cinematic stuff. But the thing with that is it's still just fights. It's just still regular fights, just with cutscenes in between. And it's been that way ever since. And both, the story isn't good, the storytelling's not good, and it's just not engaging with the repetitive fights and whatnot. Especially in this game where the story's kind of just all filler fights. We'll get to it, we'll talk about it a bit more. But I feel we'll get combo charge and practice. They kind of go hand in hand. Firstly, practice. I like to compliment, because practice mode actually gets a lot of improvements in this game. It says for in the 3D era that debuted it. Well, no, it didn't debut. It was in like MK4 before. It might have been in a version of MK3. I don't think so, actually, no. I think MK4 debuted it, though. But the 3D game's updated because it had a move list for one. It would show your inputs and whatnot. And expanding on this, you have a lot of unique options. So, like, change the AI settings, so like have it block and whatnot. Basically, like, options that you have in NRS games. Many of them debut in this game. It does improve a lot. My favorite one is just pressing, I don't know what it's called, but the one next to the pause button, the other one, the select button, that's not using anything. Here, you press that, and it just resets the thing. You're both in the middle of the stage and whatnot. I mean, that's very cool. It's very helpful for combo trials, especially. In combo trials, you're just beating up a dummy AI, and top of the screen shows a combo. You can select, there's 10 combos for each character. You can do any in whatever order. Though the idea is that 1 to 10, it gets progressively harder. For the ones I've done, I've only completed one. I've only completed Shao Kahn, but it saves your progress each time you complete one. Some reason others, like Shao Kahn, was still a challenge, but I got that easier compared to others. Some have stumped me earlier than others. I haven't tried all of them, admittedly. But yeah, they are like a genuine challenge. I think in all the MK games, this is the hardest thing in any MK game. Doing these combo challenges, because there's some insane combos, at least for me. Maybe I do need to learn the game, but I have put in a lot of hours in the game now, and they don't feel like they're getting much easier. But I do really like them. I think the challenges, they're really cool, although it's weird in the game that's slightly more kid-friendly, just a bit. that it has like this really hard mode. It's basically an expansion on like the training in Daylight and Deception Conquest, where you do the inputs and whatnot. You learn the characters. Here you're just jumping straight into these mega combos and stuff, and they're really difficult. But the thing is, it teaches you optimal combos. It gives you ideas for combos you can do with the characters, and the combat potential in this game is really impressive. And we'll get into why. But yeah, there's so much you can learn from the combo trials. When I start a new character, I go to their combo trials, see what I can do, and then you go to practice, and you see what other stuff you can come up with. I think it's a really helpful tool, as well as being some challenging side content for people to work towards. It's not an actual side mode, but it is side content. And the achievements, because you get an achievement for each one, it can be very rewarding to get through them all. And some people say like, nah, Maximilian dude video in the combo trials this game. I think that's totally unfair. I think that's 100% a skill issue on his behalf, like genuinely, not even a joke. Because most of them are just challenging. A lot of them in specific timing to pull off the combos. Besides just being long strings and whatnot. A lot of it's a timing. But some of them are just weird. And I can't find much anywhere else. I googled if this is a common thing. And I might be doing something wrong. But I have had this issue here with the ear-to-ear Kano combo where I've done the input. That's the input, and it hasn't counted. I have no clue what's up with that. But yeah, that's my only real gripe. Other than, yeah, the challenges are kind of torturous, but they are just challenging rather than being broken. Except maybe that one Kano one. I'm still not sure what's going on. If you do know, leave a comment, please, because I am completely stumped on that one. I don't think I'm completing these for a while. Overall, I would say this is a very positive inclusion. And something I feel like should have actually continued. I think it can help you learn a lot, although it's definitely not beginner friendly. Absolutely not. Even I, with tons of hours on this game alone, just MK games in general, big struggle. They are very hard. I feel like in an ideal world, we'd have the Daylight and Deception, like basic training stuff, and then on top of that, you'd have the combo challenges to actually teach you some optimal stuff for combos and whatnot. But yeah, I think it's good to have that, but that is the end of the side content, and you see why I say content, not side modes. Because it's stuff to do, but it's still just a regular fighting game. And for MK standards, this isn't good, and this has kind of been a problem since. More so in this game, because it's the first one to do so, and the side content isn't even, like, in line with what you'd expect. Like, you know, MK9, you have, like, a challenge channel. I think the challenge channel is shit. But that's more than combo challenges, you know? But yeah, the side modes, there's none really. And what I mean with side modes is just look at Deception 4 years ago before this game. 4, like, completely different gameplay experiences. Not different content in terms of what you were doing, but just different gameplay entirely. And some people critical them because they're fighting game nerds and they just want to play the actual fighting game. And I get you want to buy a fighting game for the fighting game, but these are great experiences. Combat still blends in fighting games, so does chess combat. Puzzle combat is a genuinely well-made puzzle game. It's better than Tetris, if you ask me. Like just looking at that, it's like 4 separate games in one, basically. Like, this is why Deception is the best Mortal Kombat game as a total package. Just the content there, that is insane. And now it's kind of been lost. And again, Armageddon only had, it lost 2, like, side mini-game modes. But, I mean, they had more depth than being just mini-games. They had Motor Combat, which is the worst of the 3, even though it's such a fun idea. And then there's the ongoing Conquest, which some people prefer, some people don't. I prefer the Deception one. with exploration stuff. But this one has like more beat 'em up gameplay stuff, kind of from Shaolin monks. And of course the roster. There's so many characters you ever want to see a game. Fell down to a 22 character roster, which overall isn't bad when you consider both sides, but again, it's a crossover game, you kind of need more. So yeah, and the movesets, they aren't simple. I was concerned about this, but I saw the move list and there's quite a lot going on. And I also do the special moves, but it's going to use fighting styles, which are just like 3 movesets per character, which is insane. But these ones have, and Baraka and Deathstroke are very stand up because they have weapon styles still, and they're actually very nice, like because they kind of like seamlessly transition into them. They're very well made. They absolutely are. But yeah, I do definitely prefer the regular fighting style system. That should have never left, because you, as much as you just give the core movesets, they still don't feel as in depth as those fighting styles. But yeah, this isn't an MK9 where the movesets have like 8 strings. Well, there was a lot to them, a lot more to them, and the moveset's just bare displayed for an MK9. You can't just go from top to bottom. They route down this game, but it's easier to scroll down in MK9. And the special moves being a separate time makes sense to this game, because this is the game that changes a lot. So special moves, what's actually changed? So in the games before, the 3D games, you do your combo, and you can't do a special move off of that. This is something people would expect for MK games now, and it started with this game, at least in the modern sense. I believe the arcade games work this way. I don't know enough about like the core gameplay of those games to know for sure. But basically this game has it so you can do your inputs for a combo, and then you can interrupt, like you don't have to do the last string. Instead, you can end the combo with a special move, right? And there's a lot of specifics to it, but it's basically as simple as that, which allows for just way more combo potential. It's really cool in this game. I say as someone who actually prefers the regular 3D era game system of special moves, where, yeah, the special moves are special. You can't just do a string and go into your big special move. There feels like there's more strategy to that, but I will not deny it's really cool in this game, especially when there's pro moves. I mean, this is a guide for Jax's pro moves. There's various characters and there's various things. For example, Dormisos is his projectile. One of them, you can just, if you time it right, you can just do more projectiles from it. It's kind of what begins the amplify thing without the meter bar stuff. And I think it's really cool in this game. I think it's really cool. I think amplifying moves has always been a genuine improvement and the only kind of justification for a meter system there has been. Because breakers, I think, were better. Just being free per match, you don't gain them for meter stuff. In this game, the meter, there's 2 bars. You spend 1 for a breaker. You get the full meter, 2 bars. You can use rage, which we'll get to that. Just want to focus on pro moves for now. But basically you do a special move input and it's unlisted, the pro move. And you have to figure out the specific timing and the input to follow. But usually it's 2 special moves together, but there's a lot of variety. I don't know how many there are in the game, and there's an achievement for finding them all and doing them all. So I think that's very cool. It's kind of annoying that they're not listed, but it makes them feel very special. The special moves feel real special in this game, and it's very fun. It's very, very fun. We have variety in the special moves. Like, we lost the fighting styles, but the special moves, there's much more to do with them, and there's generally more per character. And there's just more uniqueness of them. I really like special moves in this game. They feel impactful, and it just makes the combo potential just so insane. They did a fantastic job with this. And this is like the main thing with the core gameplay in terms of changes, I feel. Like, this is really important. So much so that it affects the franchise to this day and how special moves work with amplifying and stuff. Amplifying is the best system, but it feels really special in this game. And I say amplifying is the best system for like extending special moves. Because pro moves, you don't lose a meter or whatever. There's no consequence to getting the time right. If you learn the timing, and maybe the timing is quite hard to do, but I know people who get really good at this game will be able to master a lot of these pro moves. It means there's no downside. You just do the pro move in full, right? Which, yeah, that can be quite overpowered, even. But again, from offline experience, because I think a lot of these game mechanics that they added aren't suitable for online play, I don't think. I think there's a lot of stuff that would be considered bullshit. But for offline play and offline experience, they are just fun. Moving on to the new mechanics that I have the same opinion of, pretty much. The rage meter, you get the 2 bars, use it, and it's basically just armor, is what you refer to it in the modern games, where you don't react to damage taken, and you also can't block a lot of attacks, and you do more damage. It is so overpowered. It really is strong. But of course the cost is 2 meters, and of course everyone has it. It's very fun, and it feels very awesome when you put it offline. But I can tell in an online experience this would be so fucking annoying. So if people don't like it, I get why it's not a thing, but for this one game it works. Also stuff like close combat and the stage transitions. 3 or 4 combat. These are pretty much the same. In the sense that you're pressing one of the 4 face buttons, and if the opponent presses the same button, they counter it. There is some strategy to it. It's not just guessing, although it feels like it sometimes. The difference with the free-fall one is it's only when there's stage transitions, and also if you get to the end of the damage meter, you can do a super move which automatically sends you down. But each one has like a unique super move. Basically, it's like a unique animation. For example, Shao Kahn will just bonk you with the Wrath Hammer. But yeah, I mean, 3-4, another thing with 3-4 is you do a bunch of damage, but if one's reverse and you're going to be the one crashing into the ground by the end of it, you take all the damage. It's a very risk-reward thing, and I think it's very fun. I really do like it. Even though it might feel repetitive for some, I do enjoy it. Same for close combat. Because it's just like an alternative to a throw. You still have the regular throws, or everyone has the same throw now, where you just grab someone and yeet them. It's like a very generic throw. Although there's some cool stuff, like some stages like still have like stuff that's been in like daily alliance, where there's like destructible objects on the stage. So, like if you throw them into one of those, then it actually bounces them up, and it does a pop-up, basically. And I think that's really cool. Actually, even though everyone has the same throw, I think that's a very cool addition. And because of that close combat, I think it's made up for it. So yeah, I do definitely like these for this game. Again, it's just like in this game's context, it works. For just MK in general, not the best mechanics to add. But yeah, it's just a lot of fun for this one entry. And it makes it stand out, gives you a reason to check this one out. All this stuff. Another thing's movement, and this one honestly I don't really like. I get it, but I never had this issue when playing the actual 3D games. And basically this is the left stick is used for up and down where you move up and down with a 3D movement, whereas the D-pad, down is to crouch and up is to jump. I did learn if you hold the left trigger, which actually has a purpose here, because again, left trigger has like completely lost its purpose from this game on. Well, it still has a purpose here, but I mean, it used to be the change style button, and now obviously it's a lot less important. But here, if you hold that down, you can still do like whatever. Like for example, you hold it down when using the D-pad, you can have the 3D movement. It's a bit annoying, but you do get used to it, or at least I did. But yeah, I don't like it at all. I get it, because because jumping and crouching might be difficult for some. But the system was really obvious. I have an Xbox 360 controller. It shouldn't be a problem at all, because I say this was Xbox One. Xbox One controllers have shitty little D-pads that don't have like the corner pads around them. But the thing is, this is a big old D-pad and the corner pads. And I think you just press the corner pads to the corner to do jumps or crouches, and then you just press straight up, down, or up to get the 3D movement in the regular 3D games. And this is just a much better system. And honestly, it's more beginner friendly because you're not swapping between two movement controls. Especially when some new players like to just use the stick. I know I was a joystick person until I got Deception. I would just use the joystick for MKX. Well, different NRS games. I started with NRS games, unfortunately. And I realized, D-pad's just easier to confirm your inputs, right? Your movement inputs, because you can mess it up with a joystick. That's why D-pad is preferred for movement in a fighting game. So yeah, that's something I don't like, but something I think many people don't know is that you can hold that left trigger to still technically use the just one movement option, but it is still awkward, even if it's as simple as that. Other than that, it's good. I mean, you can still, without holding anything, you can still like do your movement stuff when you're on the ground to roll around, and I think that's good. But because of triggers to get that 3D movement, it does feel like the 3D aspect of the game feels a lot less prominent, especially when it's not stuff like death traps and whatnot. So there's less stuff to kind of direct your opponent into. So while it's still a 3D fighter game, the 3D is less important. And it's not inherently a bad thing, but I just don't like it much personally. It's fine, it's just not as good as previous 3D games. For all those reasons I mentioned. But yeah, Test Your Might was another one that I just thought of. And this is in like 2 stages. I haven't even found in any others. There might be more. Oh, I think there's a third one. I think Gotham City has one. There's some like very expansive stages that we'll talk about after we get rid of the character. I have the image right here. I'm sorry for not showing all the gameplay, but it'd just be hard for me to find because I don't have like screen capture footage and I don't want to like steal people's gameplay stuff. Yeah, Test Your Might, you just knock someone through a wall basically and you smash them through the other side. So it's a stage position, but it's different, and basically you mash buttons and the other person has to mash buttons, even if you're on the receiving end, because it helps mitigate the damage. It determines how much damage you take from the Test Your Might situation you're in, basically. I think that's very cool. I think that's generally very fun. Again, I like it. I get why it's not regular games, but it's a very cool gimmick. And you feel super cool when you smash someone through. You can just keep doing it on a stage that you can, because if you like just swap around, just smash them through again, it's very fun. But yeah, onto the characters. 22 characters total. Scorpion, of course. Regular Scorpion. It is actually really cool, Scorpion. I think the costume's really cool. And the costume, I think, are all good in this game, pretty much. The DC side, they're like very like classic looks. They're very iconic. That even I, as someone more of a noob to DC, I can identify all the characters. I'm like, yeah, this looks like the character. It's very smart to do that. Even if there's no alternate costumes, of course, they made the right choice for the costumes they went with. And the characters have new costumes, but a lot of them like modified versions of more classic looks for them. But everything works. Some of them are just new altogether, which again also works, I feel. They're all also recognizable. And what is no costume? I think a cool thing is when you press start with a second character, you pick the player 2 costume. And I think that's very cool. This is the first game where you can do that, and it makes sense to have that as an option due to the lack of actual any alt costumes. To get to play as the alternate colour, that gives you at least some variety. Problem is, a lot of the player 2 colours fucking suck. Like, I mean, they still match the character, but they're too close to the original. And of course, you kind of want more distinct colours. Both because, I mean, the reason player 2 colours exists is for mirror matches. To make sure that they're distinct, you can tell which one you are based on the colours. But also just for that variety. You're picking it for variety. But a lot of them are just like different shades of the same costume. Shao Kahn, Darkseid, Lex Luthor, Katana, just off the top of my head, it's like a bunch of them are just that. The ones that are different colours, I mean, Liu Kang still has like his blue player 2 colour. Baraka, like the red accents on his costume turned purple, presumably because of him being an Outworld rep. I think that's a fantastic old costume. Kano, his chest and eye laser, they turn orange, however the actual laser and attacks and the lighting that emits from it, because that's like some cool lighting effect, it's still rare, so it's kind of inconsistent. Yeah, there's some cool stuff with it, but overall, most of the player 2 colours are so nothing. Like I can't even think of any DC player 2 colours that stand out, and a lot of the MK ones don't either. So yeah, that's unfortunate, but it's still there. So I do appreciate being an option. I just wish the player 2 colours are more diverse, because I think the cool ones are real cool. Like the Baraka one is sick. But yeah, I mean, scoring this game, what gameplay? I haven't touched all these characters. Actually, I have now. I played Katana earlier as I record this, and I was like the last card I needed to play, I think. Yeah. She is. I enjoy them all. They're all very distinct. Scorpion has some really cool stuff. I like. I mean, this is a start where he has the leg tackle that he keeps in MK9X. It starts with this game. I like there's a lot of cool stuff to do with the special moves. I think all the like basic combo string stuff, they're great for every character. I don't really talk about much for each individual, because they don't really stand out because they don't involve weapons. They're just regular martial arts stuff, but without the variety of different fighting styles and stuff. It's not bad, but it just means that a lot of it blends together, even though they can play completely differently. Whereas like even MK9 does it for some characters. They'll just use their weapons in strings. It's just a visual thing at the end of the day, but it makes them more stand out that way. Whereas character weapons here, except for Baraka and Deathstroke, they just use them in special moves. So yeah, Scorpion's fun. This is definitely one of my favorite portrayals of it, say gameplay. Not in story. The story I don't like it for. We'll talk about that last, I feel. I think it's probably worth doing a separate critique for like all the chapters and stuff. But yeah, Scorpion's was pretty cool. It is a standard Scorpion appearance. It's what you'd expect. And it's good. So this was also cool. His costume's very neat. I personally think it's kind of overrated. But it's still in line with like what I like of like the Day Alliance ult for Sub-Zero. That's my favorite costume. It's still in line with that. I just think it's kind of a weaker version. But he has the cryo arms. He has the blue scar. It's pretty good. And his special moves, there's a lot of new stuff on top of just keeping the kind of stuff like the ice ball and the ice slide. The ice slide returns in this game, being a low attack. It was in the other 3D games. There was a slide. But it was the cold shoulder. The cold shoulder is just like a shoulder barge thing. It's not a specific low attack. Unlike the classic slide where it's a leg hit. And that's kind of been the same in the other games. MK11 brought it back as like a selectable, like equipable variation thing to replace it. But the regular slide's just better because it's a low attack. So I think it's cool to have it here. I mean, of course, they're trying to be like iconic looks for a character, having like the classic slides, cool. But yeah, it's just sad because the cold shoulder dies in this game. It just doesn't come back outside of 11. But yeah, it works for this game. Has its ice ball, of course. The ice effects look really cool. He also has like one where like he summons like a block of ice from above you and it lands on your head. I think that's a very creative one. He also has a teleport where he does smoke and meat in Armageddon. They have this teleport where they'll just like fall back in like a coffin like pose. They'll fall back and emerge from the other side. It's a cool animation. It's just weird how they reuse it for Sub-Zero, and Sub-Zero is the one who keeps it. He does it in a lot of other games. Usually just animations rather than being an actual part of his toolkit, like between match animations. he'll do it. And here it's in his actual gameplay. I don't think it's in his actual gameplay in any other game. But in all the NRS games, he still does it as little animations. It's weird. But yeah, him and Temple's cool. He knows for a lot of characters game. And again, it doesn't make him feel the same, but it feels like they have they offer similar stuff, a lot of them. A lot of characters have grapple moves, a lot of characters like teleports and whatnot. Some don't, but yeah, I think that's what they were going for. And I guess it helps with balancing, I suppose. Another unique thing is he has like this parry attack. You touch him, and it freezes you, and then he just teleports again, comes from behind with the Curry blade, and he just like slices you in the back. It's a very cool move. Do you know the only unfortunate part is that's the only time he used the Curry blade, because again, weapons, if the characters even still have them in this game, they're only in special moves with a couple exceptions. So that's a shame, but that is a cool special move for sure. I'm glad the Curry blade's in this game in some format. It's just, again, solid. It's got what you expect. Sonya's really cool. I don't know, because she has like some aerial attack called Square Wave, which is Katana's move, which is also called Square Wave, but it's called Square Wave Assault in this game. There's some weird move names I don't really acknowledge. I just feel I'm always probably the weirdest one. This is the last game featuring the Kiss of Death, I'm pretty sure. Actually, MK9 might have it. I don't know. I don't actually know. But I feel like this is the last game, because Sonya becomes more tech-based rather than having actual powers. Which this game actually does start. The energy rings begin with this game, like being the energy onion rings that look for that projectile begins in this game, and she shoots it from her gauntlets. This is where her gauntlets come from, her like tech gauntlets and stuff. I think she uses them to like have makeshift portals in the story and shit. It's cool, and she sells Kiss of Death, which I like. I really don't like how this is not a father. Even her MK12 cameo, which is MK1 Sonya, doesn't have the Kiss of Death outside of Fatality. It's so dumb. It is really dumb. I get why she shouldn't have it as an actual ability, right? Like in canon. But it's a really cool stun. Like the mist effect's really cool. I think it's just a very cool special move. It makes me enjoy Sonya movesets when she has that stun attack. And it's even better in this game because you can cancel combo strings into it. For some weaker scaling, though, I believe it's still a thing in this game. But yeah, she has some bicycle kicks of her own as well, where she can like kick you. Well, yeah, she like kicks you up into the air, and there's like a pro move where she kicks you back down. There's a lot of moves that can have like air versions, or you can just do in the air. I think that's cool. There's a lot more in this game. Again, special moves, I just feel like there's more to do with them. There's more options. There's more special moves in general. I really do appreciate the specials in this game. Shang Tsung, unfortunately, like him turning into his opponent doesn't become a thing yet. That's an MK9 thing. But he still has a soul steal. It has a cool effect in this one. It's still the 3D arrow one where he just gains life from it, which I think is cool on its own. And it like their skin, the player's skin turns grey and stuff. I think that's a cool little effect. As he steals your soul in gameplay and you just still fight. It's funny. But yeah, I think it's neat. But yeah, he still doesn't morph into a fighter, so that's just not a thing in a 3D games. I get why, obviously. But yeah, he doesn't have that yet. He does have like his ground fireballs, some regular flaming skulls and whatnot. He has a unlisted grab move where he grabs you by the throat, I think, and just punches you. I'm pretty sure Shao Kahn has that as well. So I feel like it's not supposed to be in his moveset, but I think I've looked at his combo charts. I think he does have it as an input. So I don't know what's going on with that. I don't think you can use it as a pro move for anything. I think it's neat that he has it, but it feels out of place. 3D fire doesn't return, unfortunately, but it does have the ground fireball thing, that classic thing return. So I think that's a fine substitute. And he also weirdly has Quan Chi's slide kick, the low kick that slides under projectiles and stuff, and like projectiles you in the air of a kick. He has that in this game. That's weird because if Quan Chi was going to be DLC, why did you give Shang Tsung a Quan Chi move? And I guess I should mention this now. A lot of characters keep, well, yeah, a lot of special moves from MK characters are not in this game carry over either to MK characters themselves or DC characters a lot, and we'll cover them all. Some of them are like unintentional, some of them are intentional. Like there's like Sub-Zero having like the smoke teleport, that might be intentional, but I feel like it's more of an asset reuse than anything. Speaking of which, Shang Tsung's teleport, I thought it was a reuse in animation, but it's not, I don't think. Actually, I can't remember. I think the animation might be the same, but the lava effect is different. This is the game that starts Shang Tsung having lava powers just from this teleport. It's like Blaze's Armageddon teleport, basically. Where he just falls into a pool of lava and emerges from another one. Like Blaze. So yeah, he's cool in this game. The design-wise, and I forgot to mention Sonya's design. Sung's design is meh. I don't like this look for him. It's better than the MK9 look. Young Shang Tsung, that is. They've got, unless can nail old man Shang Tsung looks, but they can't do young Tsung. Again, you're following up from Deadly Alliance Shang Tsung, which is his peak design. So you kind of like, it's grown on me. I think it's fine. I like the dragon tattoos, the dragon patterns on the legs as well. So I don't hate it. I like the details on his face more, where he's like graying and stuff. I don't know why MK9 changed that. MK9 just made his model worse. The graphics of this game are like, it's the same MK9 as the MK9 engine, obviously, but MK9 looks ugly. This game looks fine. I don't know how to explain it, but yeah. Sonya's costume, it's fine. The crop top's a bit stupid. And it was fine in the previous videos because she had a jacket on top and like that cool jacket. But like without it, she's like, oh, this, you don't seem appropriately dressed for a soldier, but whatever. It's just strange. She doesn't have the visible thong anymore, which is a plus, I guess. Which I don't even mind that as like a design choice. It just doesn't fit Sonya again. Being a military girl, and you can't just throw this on because it's a hot woman. You can't do that. It'd fit for like a Kira maybe, you know. But Sonya, no, it wouldn't. It doesn't. But the crop was fine, right? It should have a track over it, but even then, it's still kind of weird. Because again, it's military. She has a beret. I like her hair. I like the hair covering her face. I think that's a cool style, and I like the beret. And it comes from a Day Alliance. Where she has like a full proper uniform. My only complaint about that one is she's wearing high heels now in that costume. Like you gave her like a proper military outfit, which justifies the primary, and then you give her high heels. Side tangent. The green beret carries over to her. Unfortunately, Jackson now is red beret, and he's just a bold guy now. I forget to Jax. Jax looks cool, by the way. That just annoys me. How Sonny gets beret and Jax doesn't. But yeah, I like it. I like the face model and whatnot. I think it's cool. The pants are like whatever. She's got like proper like military boots and all that. It works. It's just the shirt. It's just kind of out of place. Again, if she just had a jacket on, it would make the design feel more complete. And also, it feels like we're starting to like try and like hypersexualize the women again with this game. It's not an MK9 levels. It's absolutely not. But you can see her nipples. So yeah, like you can literally see her nipples through the character model. And it's like, why did you design it like that, guys? So I feel like the crop top here is not even here as like a design choice. It's just there because it's hot. If I would hazard a guess, that's why. And that's where my gripe with the costume is from. Overall, it doesn't really bother me. It's fine. I think it's one where the alt colours are actually decent as well, because she has like a black shirt now instead, so there's some like significant colour change there. But yeah, Katana. Katana's really cool. It's one of my favourite Katana. In terms of gameplay, the story's weird. She doesn't have a chapter, which is so odd. But yeah, she's really cool. I like her costume. It's definitely the best version of like a leotard look, which I mean, Day Alliance did a good job to make it like have an actual design and stuff, make it look cool. And this DC I just think was the best. And yeah, I like it. I like her in this game. Her moveset's fantastic. Her moveset really is fantastic. The special moves are done great. The fans, they're prominent in like the special moves. She doesn't do it in like regular combat streams. Again, it's just hand-to-hand stuff. But I think it's fine with her because like she has like fan toss and stuff you can do in the air as well. And like just some regular like fan attack thing. She has that. Like some guys will just have like weapon attacks. Shao Kahn is the same. As just a special move. Which works. It works for this game, I'd say. Most notably though, I mean she has like all her base of like square wave, fan lift. But here, which makes her really stand out, is she has Melina Ball, which I now know where MKX and 11 got the idea to just take Jade and Melina's movesets and to Katana. Except this game's really cool with it. One, because, I mean, there's an actual reason for it. And two, because, I mean, Melina's Ball is just iconic move, and it's a really cool thing for her to be able to do. It fits her still. Another one that fits her, it fits her better than Jade, honestly, with Katana's powers, and it's done better than Jade's, is her mystical teleport. And many don't really identify that this is supposed to be like a Jade move because she has like a blue puff of smoke set. But this comes from Deception and Armageddon Jade. She has like this teleport where she spins around and this puff of smoke comes from behind. Katana gets it here. And unfortunately that teleport doesn't return. It's not going to either of them, to my knowledge. It's just gone after this game, which is a shame because I think it's a cool teleport, and MK vs DC here provides a good take on it instead of just being a regular teleport. Here you can like follow up with just a great input, kind of like Kung Lao's teleport, where like he throws a hat and then like comes out from under it, and then you can just follow up with a regular attack. Here there's some options. Two of them are like low attacks, and like the other two is whatever. But yeah, it means you can start combos off the teleport, and again, that's just some nice variety that I do like. So yeah, I really like Katana in this game. I need to learn it more because she's quite tricky to learn. But yeah, she's pretty cool. Like she can do like some crazy combos off of stuff as simple as a jump kick. You know, it really does show how much you can, like how much variety there is with using special moves, how many options you have. Sticking with the Yankee side, we'll just go down to the next row. Jax. Jax is really cool in this game. It's cool to see him as well. His design is pretty great. I really like the arms. He's one of my favourite arms. Because you can see they're kind of like the classic arms, but underneath all this like armour, like this additional armour, it looks really cool. I haven't talked about voices, but his voice is very good. I don't know why it was changed. Maybe just the guy just wasn't available for MK9, which fair enough. But I really like him. And he retains a lot of his free air stuff that becomes lost. The beret's gone. The beret's gone. That's already lost, unfortunately. But like he has stuff like his gun thing, which he says "ah," but he doesn't say "ah yeah," which is like his like an iconic line, right? That he has in there. That comes from Special Forces. It comes from Special Forces and it's given into his Day Alliance. And again, Moose says, Day Alliance, he actually like talks, he like fucking trash talks a bunch, like between doing lines. And that's like the first time characters would do that. Like MKX started, like brought that back. But like before that, like Jack is like the only case of doing that. Between like outside like specific like voice lines in special moves, Jax was the only one who do it. He'd do it for like his grapple moves. I just thought I'd bring that up because I think that's really cool and not many people know it. So there's a random fun fact, but yeah, Jax has the gun. Projectile is shooting missiles from his arms. And he doesn't have piston punch, and I'll get to why. These are kind of like the replacement because he gets in the position he would for his 3D piston punches, but he shoots missiles instead as a pro move for him, as we talked about earlier. But the gotcha grab returns, which is better than piston punches, I must admit, as much as I love 3D Aero Jax. The gotcha grab's just much better. So it's really cool to see it here, and there's like pro moves into it and whatnot, so it's done really well in its return here. He has ground pound, it's unblockable, still in this game. Actually, I think it's still unblockable in MK11, right? Yeah, I don't think that changed. I feel like something that shouldn't be the case, but it is. So yeah, he's just cool. He's just very good. He's got a nice variety of his classic stuff, but still retains a lot of the 3D stuff, which I do like. Which you can say for a lot of characters here, which I do appreciate, actually. Next is Liu Kang. It's Liu Kang. Dude has some cool stuff, like the bicycle kick. Like, you can follow up with his dragon kick, his flying kick. The fact that you can just do them together is just really cool, and it's only possible in this game with the pro moves. He's got the fireballs low and high. And yeah, I think I'm missing some special moves, like some unique special move in this game. But it's a pretty standard character. His design's fine. I really like the patterns on the legs. The face looks much better than it does in MK9. It still looks off. It still looks very off, but it's much better than it is in MK9. My only problem is the belt. And I wouldn't even mind it if it didn't have this stupid little dragon logo buckle. Like, is that meant to be like a championship belt for being the Mortal Kombat champion? I don't know what it's meant to be, but it looks goofy. It doesn't even look bad, it just looks silly. The design would be much better if it's gone. So yeah, I think it's solid here. I like Liu Kang here. Yeah, no real complaints. Raiden. Raiden's cool. His design again is kind of mixes like classic look, but also keeps some free air stuff. His cape, most notably making its final appearance here. I think it's a solid design, but it's definitely a downgrade on just Day Alliance Raiden, you know. But I mean, this is the return of Light Raiden, actually, because he wasn't Light Raiden for the past 2 games, so now has an option. Yeah, he's pretty cool. Has like stuff you expect, like his flying torpedo, has a teleport, which I think loses the sound effect. Like it's like that weird, like freaking holy sound. I mean, I think he doesn't have that in this, which is a shame. Has the light note and stuff. I think it's all standard stuff. I don't think he has anything too crazy. I think it's just Raiden's stuff. It's just what Raiden would always have. If I recall correctly, although I haven't played him in a bit, I could be misremembering. Oh right, he has a grab. He does have his grab as well. That's number one. I think the thing that makes him really unique in this game is not the moves themselves, but how they function in this game. You can charge a lot of his moves, like the lightning bolt, for example, the lightning ball. You can charge it up. You can just hold on it, basically. You just hold a button, and you charge it to make the lightning more effective. That is such a cool idea, and I don't know why it doesn't come back. That feels like such a great evolution, to just have that as an option. I think that's just really cool. I feel like a badass playing as him. So yeah, I think he's pretty good in this game. Again, he's like just solid looks for these characters, like both design wise and gameplay wise, with some stellar stuff in the special moves. So yeah, Kano. You know how I feel about Kano. I think this is definitely his best look. I mean, his game's always been like surprisingly fun. Basically everything, and I think his rivals like Day Alliance for his best moveset. He has like a really cool grapple thing. It uses a pop up with a pro move. He has a parry which does various things. I don't even understand it honestly. But there's various things. But a parry is unique because you can use it for like just a regular like spin around grab, which isn't very powerful, but you can still, again, it's still a grab. Like he's definitely the main grappler of the roster. It feels, you know, the characters have like grabs and stuff. His is like involved like his combo startups, got a parry and everything. Knife toss is here, and his knives are Kira's dragon teeth for some reason. And I think that stays the same in MK9, which they look really cool, but it's just weird. He goes from regular butterfly knives to having specifically Kira's knives, but they're cool. His costume's cool as well. My favorite character design is like well, the 3-hour version of his like classic look, and then the later colors like his MK3 colors for it. That classic look has always been like his best design, but it doesn't really fit him. It's like, why is he wearing that? But I just thought that was super cool. I mean, it's the reason he was the first character I ever played when I got MK9. My least favorite MK game, when I picked my least favorite character when I first played this game. I just found that funny. So no nostalgia bias here, that's for sure. But this is like his best design in terms of fitting the character with the vest and whatnot. I like his tattoo as well. He has a tattoo on his shoulder. Which is cool. Doesn't carry out MK9, even though this is like the one character model that is just exactly the same in MK9. Besides the costume change. Actually, that's not true. There's a lot of other ones that I think about. Baraka, Raiden, Scorpion Sub-Zero too. Sonya as well, but Sonya gets a different hairstyle. If I recall correctly. So yeah, I like the like eye laser and stuff. It's just very cool. Had a lot of fun. He's one of my favorite characters to play as. Him and Baraka at the moment are my favorites. So yeah, I am very positive on how he plays in this game. In terms of his inclusion on the roster, I'm not too big a fan. I'm not too big a fan of this roster. At least on the MK side, in the sense that they're very generic picks, but I get why it's that way. I just feel like there should have been like a Taven, especially because it's following Armageddon. There just should have been like a bit more variety. I think Quan Chi would have been a big bit of variety because it's more than just MK1 and MK2 characters. I'm glad Johnny's not here. Johnny might have just been a very boring pick. Kano's quite a boring one, but like his gameplay is always very standout. So again, because the story's like so unimportant in this game, I'm more commenting the gameplay than anything. But yeah, in terms of being a crossover game, this isn't like the most interesting way of doing it. It's not the most interesting cast of characters on the combination of it. And Kano directly parallels Deathstroke, but Baraka's a cool one. Baraka's only a standout one here. He's my favourite character for sure. It's probably my favourite version of him, and he's really cool in any game he's in, right? Like Baraka's fucking fantastic. He's just a badass character. He's so badass that like the big ass lore nerd that it, like has to. I always justify Baraka being on a roster. He's one character I think should be a mainstay just from popularity alone, which I usually don't like for characters, you know, because a lot of them it seems to be that seems to be shifting now. MK12, you know, like it seems like the SF and Kano are tagging out at least for now. Which I don't like. I don't like in the sense that I feel like Jack should be a mainstay at this point because just all this has been for him. He's just a consistently great character, but that's a story for another time. I just love Baraka. I love Baraka. He's so awesome in this game. Well, yes, the firing cells are gone. He can still draw the arm blades and retract them by just pressing B or down B. And there's also a combo string that just transitions around to fighting style things. And then he has like his classic MK2 like blade spin. He doesn't have his regular blade charge in the 3D games. That's in the other 3D games, but the animation is present when you do the chop blade. And when you do chop at the end of it, if you don't do the pro move, he will do the blade charge attack to end the thing, which I think is cool. This is by far the coolest chop spin. It's the only game where you can just chop in the middle of a combo, and it's a combo extender, not ender, and that's because of his blade charge thing. I think that's the name. I can't remember what it's called. It has like a similar name to the 3D one, like lunges forward with his blades forward. This one's different because he does a front drop kick, which sounds less impactful, but it's very awesome because he drags his blades along the ground, and that's what carries him so far to do the kick. It's such a badass move that's only in this game, to my knowledge. He doesn't keep it after this. It's so cool, and it does the same thing as the other blade charge. Again, I can't remember the names of them. So yeah, I do like it for that. And yeah, you can like do chop blades into that kick, and it does a huge pop up. And it's in the combo. He's such a fantastic character. He's so fun. His costume's brilliant. It might be my favorite Baraka costume, now that I think about it. I'm not sure. But I mean, again, because I'm not sure if this is my favorite gameplay for him, because Baraka's just so cool and everything. He is just on like a superficial factor, he is just one of the coolest characters. You know, he's such a nothing current story, but the gameplay in this game is just on a whole other level. He is fantastic. This is one of my favorite movesets for an MK character in general. It really impressed me. Playing as Baraka alone in this game justified me giving this game a shot. 100% a fantastic addition. I got nothing good things to say on. And of course, there's the Blade Sparks. Of course he does. I mean, that's everything. I think you can do Blade Sparks as a pro move after the Chop Chop Blades. But I could be misremembering. I could just be making that up. And that's the MK side. I can't see on this roster, but Shao Kahn. This is like the last game of true Shao Kahn, which feels like the massive boss. And I will credit the bosses right now. They don't limit you in what you can do to the bosses. And I think that makes them feel much less bullshit than basically any other MK game, honestly. Even Dark Khan, who's the NPC boss. We'll get to Dark Khan at the end, I suppose, of talking about the characters. He's just a combination of Darkseid and Shao Kahn in moveset, by the way. He's just stronger. But yeah, they feel like bosses because of the sub-bosses. Khan and Darkseid are the sub-bosses before Dark Khan himself, which makes sense. And yeah, they're just rated characters, but they feel like bosses. They do a great job in their size, and of course, with the scaling difficulty, by the time you get to that difficulty, they do feel like big bads. They feel like these big bosses, even though in actuality they're just another part of the roster. It's so cleverly done. Doesn't have many strings, which is sounds like Shao Kahn at this point, in this point, in like his playable role from Deception Armageddon. I see this beats those games. Maybe not Deception, I don't know. Again, it's like always between Deception and Curse of my favourite gameplay of these characters, which is impressive because obviously these are characters that have been in a lot of games. And Shao Kahn's probably the most out there character because he isn't in many. He's in many games, but in an NPC role. This is one of his few appearances just rated playable. And it was his last one until MK11. So yeah, it's kind of standout appearance. Zendima has one attack with a Wrath Hammer, but boy, is it a good one. Slams the Wrath Hammer down, and if it's a combo ender, it just like drops you, right? But if you start a combo with it, then he slams it down, and it like causes a massive earthquake. It propels you back up and being just yeeted across the stage with the Wrath Hammer. That you just get back up and you're completely stunned, allowing you to do a combo. It is so cool. Again, this is where like this Wrath Hammer just feels so badass. This is Shao Kahn. His design wise, it's fantastic. It's perfect because it's just regular Shao Kahn but with a cape. Keep the cape. Why did they remove the cape? This is the last time he has the cape. Which is a massive shame. Again, this feels like the last time we see Khan. He has his the Emperor's Shield thing, which I could be wrong because I'm not certain, but I saw some gameplay and I think the shield actually blocks projectiles in this game, which is such a clever idea. The Emperor's Shield, for those who don't know, because it was only in the 3D games, is he swings his arm forward and just following him is like a trail of his green energy, which can just whack the opponent if he's up close. But in this game, it seems to also be used as a shield against projectiles. I thought the uplifting knee was in the game, but if I recall correctly, it's not. And that's because he does the upward shoulder bash in this game. You can also pro move it. You can do a regular shoulder charge into like the upwards one. It's very cool. The uplifting knee was kind of like to replace like a pop-up of sorts. So again, it's like there's a suitable replacement for the move that's been removed, so that's fine. But yeah, I think he's fantastic in this game. He feels awesome to play as. I love him so much. He's so cool. This is like really because again, you know me, I don't care too much for Shao Kahn as I've been. I think because he's just like one of the simpler ones. But he's such a badass in the midway games. He really is, and that feeling's been kind of lost since. He's still cool, you know, in some ways, in gameplay at least, in MK11, he's still cool to play as. But yeah, this does feel like the last time we get proper Shao Kahn. Yeah, he is excellent in this game, for sure. Yeah, that's the MK side. Onto the DC side. Moving on to the DC side here, we have, again, the same amount of characters, 11 characters. 10 on the select screen, on the proper select screen, and you press R1 or whatever trigger equivalent, and you pull up the option for Dark Side. You don't need to be in a certain spot on the roster, it doesn't matter what side you're on. When you open that little hidden bit for Khan and Dark Side, you just scroll between the two, and that's what I meant earlier in the video when I said it feels like that section would have just been where all the DLC characters would have been stuck, just in that little hidden area, is what my assumption is for the plans regarding that. But yeah, we'll just keep going left to right for convenience sake. So the Joker, very surprising to me because I really fucking like him in this game. If we're looking at the story mode, he is the best character. He has the best chapter. He uses the rage gimmick the best because it's a story thing where like Dark Khan's energy makes people affected by the rage and then they like become super strong. And that's kind of used to justify like inconsistent power scaling, and they use it well in Joker's chapter. I won't touch on the story for all of them, and I will still talk about the story, but I won't go too in depth in it. But I do want to specify the Joker's because it's really good. It's just very fun. In the sense that like he's affected by the can't rage because he's not a fighter. Right, so he has to fight something, he's very scared, and then he's surprised when he wins, and then each fight gets more and more confident, and then at the very end of the chapter he realizes, oh, he could kill Batman, so he confronts Batman, beats him, and then he gets tasered by Batman, because in the story, just if you beat Batman, he just tases you, I guess, because Batman's always prepared. Goofy ass shit. I fucking love it. This is the goofy side Joker, and I'll say now I won't talk about all the designs because I think the compliments apply to all of them in the same way, because all the DC characters here, they have, like, at least to my understanding as a casual, they have like their most iconic classic looks. I don't know what the very original design are, but these are like very old school kind of designs. I think, at least. I believe that's the case for all of them. I could be wrong, I apologize. So, but they do reflect the characters well, like the MK ones. So I really have no complaints here. And yeah, the Joker, it's like his more old depiction where he's just a goofy little guy, rather than them trying to turn into like a serious villain or whatever, like just edgelord shit. It doesn't apply to him here. He's just a goofy little guy. And that reflects in his moveset. Because he has the most special moves in this entire game. He has so many. He throws like a smoke bomb. He gets surrounded by like green smoke. And then from it you can emerge doing like 3 different attacks. He's got like a boxing, like a comical like boxing glove, like a sticking. I don't know what you call it again, but he hasn't been MK11, so I think it's called Kapow in MK11. I can't remember what it's called in this game, and yeah, it's just all goofy stuff. Like he has a parry that's like a hand buzzer, and I can't remember everything, but he has just so many fun moves and stuff. Oh, he has a taunt where he just dances. He has that. Yeah, he's just kitted out. He's just so cool. I'm not cool, but it's such a fun moveset. He's just such a fun personality to have in this game. This is like my favorite Joker I've seen, because I really don't care how to carry that much, right? Because in a sense that I find this version very enjoyable. It's very charming. Whenever they become even slightly, whenever a writer even takes them slightly seriously, it's annoying, and that's not the case here. It's surprisingly not the case in MK11 either, outside like a few edgy intro dialogues. It's like MK11 Joker's pretty decent too, but this is a lot better, I'd say. And it's interesting to have an MK vs DC character come over to an MK game. Initially I didn't like that because, well, I just play Injustice. If I wanted to play Joker, I'd just play this game. But at least you have a guest character that you're adding that does have an actual history with the MK cast. So now that I think about it, he's probably my favourite guest character, which is a weird-ass thing to say. The speculation that Deathstroke's going to be in MK12, I think that's pretty baseless, but sure, I guess. He's pretty good in this game. We'll get to him. Next is Catwoman. I really like Catwoman in this game. She's one that has good player 2 colours as well, which the DC side doesn't have many, which to be fair makes sense, because, I mean, they kind of always just have one colour palette. I mean, same goes for most MK characters, but you still vary it up a bit, like Scorpion goes orange in his player 2 colours, that makes sense. Catwoman has like the purple suit. Player 2 colours are like a more black suit, and I like that. That's very good as an option. And yeah, her special was very good. She has a command grab, dives on you, and like she's like got her legs wrapped around your waist and just starts clawing you. Like, that's crazy. And you can pro move it with by just whipping them in the air. She has like an air whip move. Also has a whip attack on the ground, which wraps the whip around you, and then she does like a front drop kick. Kind of Movado-esque in that sense. Like how he throws the grapple hooks on the floor and just does a drop kick. She has that same drop kick, except she wraps the lasso around your waist in this animation. But yeah, it functions similarly. Only difference is you need a wrap around. You need the move to hit to actually move forward, which is arguably better because it means you can do it from a range and like be safe from doing it. What else does she have? I'm trying to think. I don't know. There are a lot of special moves in this game. And it is a short round, but I did do a top playthrough recently. She was very fun. Some good combos. I'm trying to think. She has like a low lasso attack, like wraps around your leg, drags you to her, and she stomps on your head. Just very cool special moves. I know I don't really talk about the enhanced stuff, but she has some good stuff, like pop-ups and some good strings, just good for combos, and meshes well with her special moves. Joker, I like his fighting stance, by the way. There's like goofy, like slapstick fisticuff stance. Just very fun. Next is the Flash. He's also really fun in this game. One of the more obvious special move reuses is the Flash having Cabal's speed thing. I don't know what it's called. I don't think anyone knows what that move is called, but everyone knows what it is. Where like it runs through and it spins you around. Flash does it like a few times, but it's just a different animation. Does the same thing. Where you're spinning around, it can be done in the air. It just stuns them. Combo extender, essentially. Very good in this game because obviously this is the first time where you can do a string cancel into the special. So that's very strong. He has just a ton of moves. He uses speed, like has some like teleport punch going off screen and stuff. A lot of pro moves as well. And he's one I've completed the combat challenges for. And yeah, he's just very fun. Another one is like he runs to you and just does a bunch of punches. Obviously, all the special moves have something to do with his speed ability, which he uses it more than Cabal does. So yeah, just some very cool stuff. Again, good strings. Again, they're just all very solid characters. Next is Superman. I like him as well. He has some very cool moves. His promos are kind of annoying to do. I need to learn him more, admittedly. But he has a lot of specials. Has like eye laser beams, of course. He can do some in the air as well. Has kind of like Moloch suction breath. Like breathes in, brings you forward in like an attack. And also one that freezes you. So that's neat. He has a ground pound. And just punching around like a very typical like superhero ground pound. I just punched the floor. Yeah, just very decent. Oh, has like a grab, throws you into the air, like punches you down. There you can do a pro move into a ground pound. Again, the special moves are just so fun in this game. Next is Batman, and I mean I understand why, but his special moves are less flashy. He has like a leg sweep one, which Scorpion also has in this. His is different though because he like keeps his legs wrapped around you and slams you multiple times. He has some batarang stuff which actually works like an actual boomerang, so that's cool. Actually, there's like 2 variants of it. I can't remember anything else, to be honest. I've only played the story, and it was quite fun. I like using the batarangs, but that's about it. I can't think of much else, so I do apologise. But yeah, he's solid. I just don't really care about him. But that's not this game's fault. So, what did I do last time? Did I move down? I think I just moved down here. So, Green Lantern. Again, a very obvious use of the classic character. He has Ermac's telekinetic slam, or Kenshi's telekinetic slam, or Shijinko's telekinetic slam. A lot of people had telekinetic slams. Shang Tsung and MKM has a telekinetic slam. A lot of characters have them. And Green Lantern's a bit different, but only in animation, really, where like he uses like a fist. So he has like a ring that makes whatever you can think of. So it makes like a big green energy fist that picks you up and slams you down. You could do a breaker into it as well, so that's kind of crazy. Where someone could attack you, just do a breaker and then you've got them in a combo. That makes him pretty powerful. Other stuff is like he makes like a big wall and stuff. Makes some hammers and you can like pro move it to just keep slamming it down. Just some very cool stuff. I do want to play him more because he seems like that was very fun special moves kit. But yeah, Captain Marvel, which to my knowledge it's his second time being played, where first time since like a very old Superman game where it's the Player 2 Superman. I could be wrong, but when I looked it up, that was apparently the case. So that's cool. He's one. Him and Deathstroke were like 2 characters that you see on this roster, and you're like, I don't recognize those 2. So I don't know if they're out there picks. I don't know what the popularity of characters, I guess, is at this time. But like, of like the Justice League heroes, the last one would probably be Aquaman. But I mean, this guy's cooler than him. But it is surprising that there's no Aquaman in this game, especially when you could have given him like rain moves. Although to be fair, this is at a time where no one really gave a shit about rain. Actually, no, because it's after Armageddon. Armageddon's where a lot more people started to care about rain. But yeah, Captain Marvel, like Raiden having lightning powers, and this is the only one to do that. Of course, a lot of the powers kind of overlap with characters like telekinesis with Green Lantern, or super speed with the Flash, but you don't have Cabal, you don't have Ermac, you don't have Kenshi in these games, right? It seems like they chose characters that are separate to have more diverse movesets, and I get that. And here they just kind of went against that rule, and I don't hate it. The 2 lightning users definitely stand out, and I feel like they could have done some more characters. But I don't really mind having the variety and having these 2 that kind of mirror each other the powers. At least you have an example, but you don't overdo it, so you still have variety. And honestly, his lightning powers are much cooler than Raiden's. He has yellow lightning, which apparently sometimes has blue lightning. I was going to adjust gameplay, which looks lame as fuck in comparison. His moves are so cool in this game. He has a command grab where he grabs and just yells Shazam in a lightning bolt Shazam, which I am aware he's called Shazam now, because lawsuits and whatever the fuck. I'm not going to call him that because that's just confusing, because apparently there's like a wizard called Shazam or whatever the hell. And they just also gave him the same name. Like, pretty dumb. So yeah, I'm just going to call him Captain Marvel, because I'm used to that anyway. So yeah, that grab's really cool. The sound effect with the lightning is just super cool. It has like a big lightning bolt that he hurls at you. It does really cool stuff. Again, another one I do need to play more, where he seems very fun and unique to Raiden. He doesn't do the lightning charge stuff that Raiden does in this game as well, interestingly enough. So yeah, their abilities are completely different outside of both being lightning related. Next is Lex Luthor. I do know a lot about him because I did really want to try him out, because he is the sector of this game. He uses almost all the sector stuff. He is the one character that really does get very close to another existing MK character. Of course, most of these guys do reuse at least something, a version of a special move that would go to a classic MK character. Now, Lex Luthor has multiple. He has the missiles, he has an air missile, has a homing missile, has all of those, and has the flame burner. His only thing unique is that he has like a rocket boot, and he uses it as like a getaway tool, and you can pro move that off the rocket. That's unique. And I still think you could just give Sector that feels like something that very much fits Sector. So I call him Bold Sector. And I like that, by the way, because I fucking love Sector movesets. And this guy's very good. Less combo strings, or at least slower stuff, but like he's hard hitting. Like he has like a single attack that like stuns you, and that's like a combo and stuff. Just very cool, very Sector-esque. Feels more like a zoning character, but not completely, because he still has a lot of good combos. So yeah, I like him. Deathstroke. Another character I wasn't really familiar with until I learned at this game, and I think he's cool. He feels like one of those DC villains that like try hard and being cool, but I do quite like this design for him. He looks more like a ninja, which apparently he's not a ninja. He's like some mercenary guy, whatever. But I like the look. I like the fact they chose it, because I've seen other ones that are like really heavily armored, and that just looks goofy. Same for Lex Luthor, actually. I've seen Injustice gameplay, and his suit is like so much bigger. He's just a chonker in that. I don't get the appeal of that. But yeah, I like him here. Because yeah, it has that ninja-esque feel, and I don't think ninjas are like the major in MK. I think ninja stands are obnoxious as fuck, and I need to learn that MK's not all about ninjas, but it's kind of a cool thing to have like this other ninja looking character, because remember, most MK ninjas aren't actually ninjas. There's only Scorpion. The only other ninja is Tassia, and no one even classes her as an MK ninja because she doesn't dress like one. So it's kind of cool to have like the orange ninja, not Wule. Sorry, Wule. So just from a superficial standpoint, I think that's cool. His old colors are also good because the orange turns red. I prefer the orange, but that's like a very distinct change. So that's obviously a good thing because you have that variety, and especially when it's cool. Has like a smoke bomb, doesn't work like smokes. It's not as cool as smokes, but it doesn't like teleport you. It just stuns you. He has like just straight up pulls out a handgun, fires. Like Striker, like MK9, MK3 Striker. Not Armageddon Strikers. Armageddon Strikers are a badass assault rifle, which he wiles out with. But yeah, Striker has Smoke has kind of, but still very different, it feels. I believe you can pro move the handgun to like just shoot more shots in one go. And his other specials, I think, uses sword. Like, there's one where he dashes forward with his sword. And he, like Baraka, is the other character, has like a weapon style, which is really cool. That makes him stand out, where he uses this big, dope-ass sword and just gets some new strings. I really like that. Nowhere near as cool as Baraka's, of course, but that's still very neat and makes him very unique. And I do enjoy playing as him, although I'm not particularly good as him. Next is Wonder Woman, the first card I tried out in this game. She has Ashra's spin cycle, basically. Or I suppose you could say Kung Lao's like spin attack thing. Although at this point Lao hadn't had that at all in the 3D games, so it's more of an Ashra thing at this point. But yeah, that like close-up spin attack that pops you up. She has that. She also has lasso stuff. Which none of it functions like Jarek's lasso in Armageddon, but there's some like similar things, like grab you, throws you, slams you down, except that's a combo ender here and not a pop-up. And that's one thing I dislike about a moveset is the spin cycle is kind of an only pop-up tool. I don't think any of her regular attacks do pop-ups and stuff. But she's still fun. And I do enjoy her a lot. So yeah. And Ashley's Darkseid. He's the one character I'm kind of like on outside of Batman, but Batman's just like personal taste. Darkseid's moves are just kind of whatever, and I say that Shao Kahn's the same, but I mean Shao Kahn makes up for it with his special moves, and I think he has more strings in general. Darkseid has like 2 combo strings that are 2 hits, right? So it's just he's like single hit, and I've done his combo challenges. He has decent combo potential even with this kind of moveset, and I usually like that from a unique standpoint, but he doesn't really make up for it. His special was right. He has the Omega knee, which is the uplifting knee or the uprising knee that Shao Kahn had, which is weird, and that's why I thought Kahn had it in this game, because I saw Dark Kahn doing it. But no, that knee is just Darkseid. It's just a regular knee. Doesn't even pop up in this game again. That's kind of a shame. No special effects went through. Has some I-beam lasers. Has an upwards one and a straightforward one, and you can pro move them together. And he has like a leaping type where he lands, and this is kind of like Su Hao, his Cyrus stomp in Armageddon, except like he like lands on you, grabs you. I think it can be blocked though. It can be blocked. Is the thing, and you can. Perfect. I think with the knee, but you obviously don't do a knee because you're on top of him, to do a headbutt, and that's kind of cool. That's like my favourite move he has. But yeah, I don't know, it might just be a skill issue. I did a full tower playthrough or something, and I was like, it's kind of fun, but he feels like he has a lot less compared to the other characters. Even Shao Kahn, the other boss. But I don't know, it might just be me. I mean, he's a cool character to have. Of the villain characters. He's one I was familiar with vaguely before this game. I mean, Garrus has a skin of him in Kill Him, which now that I've played this game, I actually care for that skin now, so that's cool. So yeah, overall, I think this is an actually decent roster, and I think it's too harsh on it. Because you like both sides, then you do have a decent actual 22. It's smaller than like every other roster around this time. Like from the 2000s onwards, this is the smallest roster, 22. But you've got plenty there, regardless, right? 22 is a decent amount still. I think there's more potential with the idea of these characters crossing over. And I think they could have had more out there picks for the MK side at least. DC is just so many characters is the thing. You wouldn't want to waste on like a more obscure pick. MK at the time, this is following Armageddon, so no one's an obscure pick because every character is in the current game, so everyone's going to be familiar with them, assuming they've kept up with the franchise, right? So yeah. Because like since it feels like you can tell like, oh, this is following Armageddon, not a story's following up Armageddon, but you can tell Armageddon was the last game because Taven narrates it. Not meant to be Taven, but it's clearly his voice actor, and they bring up Argus a lot and stuff, and it's like, yeah, this is very, very like I'm getting to. You'd think Taven would be in this game or something. So yeah, no free air reps, kind of a shame. Again, I can't really comment on the DC side because I'm not familiar. I can't really suggest alternatives. But overall, I do like the characters. Yeah, I like how they were done, even though I don't agree with all the picks. Like Kano, I don't really care for Kano, but he's fun in this game, so that's alright. So yeah, overall, I'm positive on the roster. Again, it's not much, but it's good. The movements are good and whatnot. And that's the thing. I feel like at the end of the day, you need to look at this game for what it is. At the time this came out, this is following the biggest roster in MK. Not good, right? Not a good look. And especially with the lack of content when the free era was pushing on having all this side content stuff, and now you just have a story mode that doesn't even have unique gameplay. It's just these cutscenes that are all for all filler fights. Like, yeah, it's not great. It really isn't. And it's a shame. But again, if I'm looking at this today, and how you can, assuming you could find it quite easily and probably cheap. Again, Xbox 360 games are very cheap, at least. Here in England, they're just fucking everywhere, and they're like £2 for one. I can't remember how much I think it was DC was. But yeah, it's something that's worth trying in the grand scheme of things. If you're an MK fan and you've seen gameplay this and you think, oh, I might enjoy this one, it's worth giving it a shot. You'll get your money's worth regardless. But yeah, it doesn't feel as complete as other MK games. It doesn't feel like there's as much to do, of course. So yeah, I'll talk about the story and we'll probably wrap this video up. So when you press story mode, this is the first thing you'll see. Choose your side. And you should pick the MK side, the DC Universe side. And I think this is the best thing to come out of the story, is you get to choose a side, and the story is completely different depending on which side you choose. Well, not completely, the outcome's still the same, and it's quite cool when you go for both because they cross over, they do. It's like some insignificant details in one will apply to the other side, if that makes any sense. There's also some details that they don't explain at all, like, I just off my head, Catwoman has like some gold like medallion sort of thing. I can't remember. Might have been a watch, I'm not sure. But she has like some valuable object, and Actually, Kano just shows up. She manages to take it. She goes for a portal, and they never elaborate on it. The portal ends up taking her to the Special Forces base she found on the other side. But yeah, you think she had like an important artifact. It's just kind of weirdly told. But yes, the biggest compliment is that, yeah, you have these two stories and they cleverly branch over. Now, negatives, and firstly, there's the chapter system, which is so dull. 4 fights is a character per chapter. Now, the exception is Green Lantern's chapter. He has 3 fights for some reason, and it's super weird, right? So, there's 7 chapters for the MK side. They only have 4 fights. That's standard. Then there's 8 for the DC side, because additional one, that's Green Lantern's, I suppose, because that has 3 fights. It's super weird, and of course, this isn't every character in the roster gets a chapter. The one that doesn't get a chapter that's very questionable is Katana. I don't know why she doesn't get a chapter. Like, Baraka makes sense. Most of the things that make sense for, like Baraka, Deathstroke. Of course, the bosses aren't going to get chapters because they're fused to the dark side. Catwoman. What are your MK ones? MK. I'm trying to think because there's 5. There are 2 DC ones just have Catwoman. MK is Katana, Baraka, and someone else, I believe. Someone I can't remember. But yeah, most characters get a chapter here, which is unlike the MK. Well, actually, the MK And by that I mean the NRS MK games. They carry over the chapter system, so you can blame this game for that, because all the chapter system does is limit storytelling. But it makes sense here because you have the two sides. So it works here, admittedly. But yeah, it's just annoying how this started. The chapter system might still be around in MK12. We don't know. It feels like it's supposed to be different. We're told it's a lot bigger, the story mode, but I don't know. I think it's probably still a chapter system now, never on. But yeah, it works for this game. And obviously overall you have 15 chapters. That's the same amount as MK9. MKX only had 12 chapters for some reason. And then MK11 also had 12. But then has 17 because of the DLC. So yeah, that's very interesting. And I like that they're separate sides because it means they don't drag on, at least not too much. Because that's the thing, this is something you do, this is content in the game, but it's not like a side mode or whatever. The gameplay doesn't change, except for one fight. There's this one anomaly fight in like Jax's chapter where starts shooting at Wonder Woman, blocks with braces, and she says, "No warrior fights with firearms," or whatever the hell, and he just throws the gun aside, and he doesn't have the gun for the fight, which only matters for one special move. And that's so strange. That's the only time they throw in that gimmick. It feels like every MK game that's done the chapters and has like one, like a couple like fights that have like some gimmick. Like off the top of my head, MK11, Sonya's chapter, she doesn't have a gauntlet for like 2 fights. Like, okay, sure. It's kind of cool, but it's insignificant, so it's like, why bother? But yeah, it does just drag on if you're doing both. So, I spent a night going through them. You can't skip the cutscenes, unfortunately. You can't at night either. So you can't just speed through it. To get the unlockables. That's the thing. You complete the MK side, you get Shao Kahn. You complete the DC side, you get Dark Side. Which is kind of weird because in the end you get the opposite main villains. So the MK side, Dark Side comes to their world and vice versa. So you think you'd actually unlock the other one, but obviously if you're picking a side, you probably want the character from that side. So it still works. I think they're good unlockables. They are definitely the best chapter story unlockables, like the 2 boss characters here, and you get one per side, that makes sense. So that's a good unlockable system. Those are the only unlockables that sort of getting endings, though. And of course getting achievements. So yeah, that's the reason to play these. Otherwise it doesn't really matter, because again, there's no unique gameplay following this style of story mode. It's not like Conquest mode where it's different, the experience is different. The only different experience is you get a cutscene between these fights and you can't select your character. And yeah, the story itself, not great. It's fine for what it is. Again, it doesn't take itself too seriously, and it's just the alternate universe for these two have collided. Set after MK3 for MK, where Khan's been defeated. I'm saying the reference, Shinnok were disappointed because they have the Annihilation Lord that Shao and Raiden are brothers and Shinnok's their dad. Which, it doesn't matter for that game, but then it's just a head scratcher why you even brought that lore into this game. Maybe that was something they did want to just bring into the canon, I don't know. Now, to my understanding, the story's written by John Vogel. He's credited as that on Wikipedia. But apparently also like 2 DC writers. I can't remember the names, but I think there are 2 DC writers to get the DC characters accurate. And from my casual knowledge, the DC characters seem accurate, right? They seem more faithful than the MK ones. And it's weird because John Vogel obviously knows his shit. He's like the lore master at this point in time. Was one of the writers for all the 3 games, the only writer for Armageddon, which I feel like he needs something to work with, just judging by Armageddon compared to the other 3 games. But like he doesn't have a lack of knowledge on MK lore. So I'm probably WB's decision, because with this crossover, it's Warner Bros. Paying a lot for it. They've probably got some decisions they want to make. And again, it feels like they simplified a lot of MK stuff, which is fine for casual stuff. But for me, MK, and again, this is an MK game because it's a fighting game, MK style. So it's not like a 50-50 balance. This is an MK game at the end of the day. And yeah, it feels very simplified with all the lore and stuff, and there's some inaccurate stuff. It's just kind of weird. There's a lot to criticize, especially mainly with how the fights are set up. Because, you can play about filler fights in the chapter system, and all the fights here are filler fights except the very final boss for Darkon. I'll tell you why they're all filler fights. They're all filler fights because the entire conflict between the MK and DC sides is under a misunderstanding. The MK side think the DC forces are actually Shao Kahn's forces, which that already makes no sense. I mean, just look at them for one. For two, you have characters like Shang Tsung, Baraka, Katana, who have spent thousands of years serving Shao Kahn. And you're telling me that they just think, Shao Kahn has had all these other forces. Again, it just doesn't really consider MK's actual history that much. And also, they ignore a lot of stuff, like a lot of stuff in the plot, like conclusion character. It just happens to be characters that in this game. For example, Chapter 1, Liu Kang, Katana shows up, and they've had disappearances with like the monks and whatnot, which the comics, explain because of the comics, which are narrated by Darkon, and basically with the merging, stuff just disappeared. Stuff just disappeared. So that's why people are disappearing. And the game doesn't actually explain that, by the way. The game does not explain that, if I recall correctly. So that's weird. But yeah, they immediately conclude that, it's it's either the Lin Kuei or the Black Dragon, conveniently the two factions that are in this game. So it couldn't be Khan's forces, it couldn't be the Brotherhood of Shadow, it couldn't be the Red Dragon, couldn't be whatever the hell. So yeah, it feels contrived in places. Again, it doesn't really matter, and this is a very, very silly story. It doesn't particularly matter, but yeah, it's not a good one, to just be frank with it. The voice acting's inconsistent. It's fine for some characters, not so fine for others. Because it's WB in charge, you need like whatever, like diploma or whatever in acting. I don't know the specifics. But yeah, I remember watching a podcast, Max Crawford, Shang Tsung's voice actor, who would have been voicing Tsung for this game, but they got some other guy to voice him because Max Crawford, and like basically any Midway character except for like a few, they're technically not proper voice actors. They are employees at Midway who they just got for their voices, who they also just used for voice acting stuff. And conceptually, it makes sense to get like proper professionals, but it does a lot. I mean, you lose a lot of charm for one. Two, there's less passion in it, right? The Shang Tsung in this game, the voices, all right. I think Tsung's decent enough in this game. He feels like Shang Tsung still, but yeah, it's not on the level of Max Crawford's Shang Tsung. Which, if you don't know, Max Crawford's the voice for Shang Tsung in Shaolin Monks and Deception. Not many lines, admittedly, but like the lines that are there, like it's a really good Shang Tsung voice, and also he does all the grunts for Tsung, even in this game. So like the grunts and stuff are still from like Midway employees, but they casted like a bunch of professionals who stuff, which is the start of many roles for characters that people consider iconic, like Patrick Sykes as Scorpion, which I don't really like because honestly, the emotion he can convey well as this character is just angry. which works for this game, but no, it doesn't work with Hunter. The 11 voice is better in my opinion. Again, it's kind of subjective with the voices though. Raiden, Richard Epcar. I think all the voices, I couldn't name every voice actor, but I know the ones here are the same voices in MK9 with the exception of Jax. Jax's voice is a very good one in this game, I will say. Jax is weird because he's like that one character who MK9 just fully changed everything. All the design details and everything is super weird. The DC side, it's fine. I don't know typical voice actors, but I thought all the voices were good except for like Deathstroke, who's like very try hard. It's just funny whenever he talks. Green Lantern, his voice is so fucking weird. I don't think that's his normal voice. I wouldn't know, but I don't like it. And Batman, because if you don't have whoever normally does the voice, I don't know the names. I'm sorry. I don't know names. But if you don't have that one guy, then anyone who plays Batman, it sounds like it's someone trying to sound like Batman, if that makes any sense. But I like the rest from what I remember. The Joker's got a very good voice. Edgar voices Joker in this as well, and he's just very good at doing a Joker impression. So yeah, he works. So the voice acting's fine, and most would probably consider it an upgrade to past games, but I personally don't. But yeah, there's a story. Just it's a mess. It's a mess. The DC side thinks the MK side are dark side forces, and as I mentioned, the MK side thinks DC forces are part of the Khan Guard, which makes no sense when you have guys like Baraka who would be able to tell if they had worked with them before. It's just weird. It really is. And it comes together with this final battle thing, which is then narrated by Taven, going midway. And like, by Armageddon, they were getting like technically professional voice actors. You got like Taven, Dagon, the guys who voiced them. The guy who voices Dagon is the voice for Octodad and Bunga. So that's pretty epic. And yeah, the Taven voice, he does the same voice for the narration. It's funny, the voice is fantastic. But it's very noticeable. You go back to Deception, he voices like just random NPCs. I think it's like the Khan Guard soldiers. And you could tell it's just Taven's voice. It's very amusing. But yeah, he just narrates like this great epic final battle because they don't have the budget to just show this epic fight scene. So that's really goofy, and then it skips to the end. And I don't need like some crazy fight scene. It just isn't depicted well, And then at the end, it's like, oh, everyone's had their ass kicked. And then there's like some shenanigans, and then you go and fight Dark Khan, and that's also handled really weirdly. The transition from cutscene to gameplay is not good in this game. Not even MK11 does it well, but like at least the NRS games, well, I don't know if 9 and X2, I don't know when they started. I know 11 does this. They'll at least set it up so people are in the right position for the fight to start. Even in really contrived ways, like MK11 has like Scarlet like rush outside for no reason, just to get to the stage area. Here they don't care. They don't care. You get the epic Dark Khan boss fight. You got Superman and Raiden on both sides, and then they decide not to fight each other because they realise what's going on. Because again, the entire conflict for the past 7 or 8 chapters is just under this misunderstanding. Dark Khan himself does not show up until the final chapter, by the way. He does not show up. We learn of him in different chapters, depending on which side of the story, but yeah, he only shows up as a character at the very end. And he's just trying to merge the universes together, because I don't know. Evil. But yeah, when you get to that fight, it just whichever character you aren't as will just disappear. That's disappear, and it's really funny. And there were really funny ones like Shang Tsung in Wonder Woman's fight. And when the fight starts, you've got to be on the left side, which is Sung's Island, and you're playing as Wonder Woman, so you're just in the completely wrong side. It's funny. Again, the presentation isn't great. It's an enjoyable story mode though, to not take seriously and just find the absurdness of it all very amusing. But yeah, in terms of gameplay, it's the same experience. It can drag out, not too much though, and you get some worthwhile rewards, and that being Darkseid and Shao Kahn. So overall, it's fine. I could 100% do a breakdown video each chapter. I don't know if that's worth the effort. I think that'd be a fun video, but it's Sam Curtis's DC. Like, it's fine for what it is. So yeah, that's it for the story. That's it for the video. Overall thoughts, M. Curtis's DC is a genuinely good game. It genuinely surprised me. There's a lot going on. I like the mechanics for this game in particular. They work for this game, like the Rage Me and whatnot. They wouldn't work for games. Like, it's totally be annoying in an online setting. The roster, although lackluster, is still good overall, and each character plays very differently, with an enhanced focus on special moves. Story mode, while not great, is technically side content as well, the combo challenges, but yeah, there's not many side modes, and there's less unlockables. There's just less content for your average MK game. But yeah, you're looking to pick it up now, give it a try, see what's going on with this game. I think it's a very fun time, and it's just it's an interesting game to look at, I feel. So it's worth giving it a shot, I'd say. Well, I'd rank this on my favourite MK games. It might be like a top 5. Of course, my top 3 are like the 3D era trilogy. Of course, you know me, I love those games. Deception, Daylight, Armageddon. And I don't know. I know MK11 is there just for the core gameplay. MK11 falls apart outside of the core gameplay and the customization, even those are both heavily flawed. MK's DC again has a bunch of flaws, but also just very fun. You switch your brain off, you just play it, you can have some fun. And you can also rage at the combo challenges. So yeah, that's all. Hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you choose for other MK games. I might not, I don't know. Just any video ideas, always just let me know. But yeah, that's all for now. Thanks for watching. See ya.